The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Kube with sister Shemiza.
2 minutes of the show has gone by and we weren't on studio, so I'm going to repeat most of the things that I said all again. Massive big assalamu alaikum to all our listeners in the studio joining us this morning, wherever you are. This is the Urban Kube show, brought to you live and direct from Inspire FM this morning. My name's Shemiza, taking it all the way up to 12 o'clock, and the time is 3 minutes past 10. It's Monday, 19th of August. On the show today, we are talking careers because it is Inspire FM's Careers Week, and last week the results for the A-levels came out, which has been really fascinating to observe on social media, and especially in particular the Inspire FM were also in contact with a lot of students with their results. So massive big congratulations to everybody that got their results last week. Now, always remember, guys, that those results, good or not as you'd expected, does not really make you who you are. Your journey continues, and you become you. There are so many experiences and examples of people who completely changed their careers after they've actually gone to university. And so if you have received the results that you've worked hard for, massive big congratulations to you. If you haven't received the results that you were expecting, no worries. Honestly, keep your chin up, be positive, and look towards the future. Lots of other opportunities will be paving your way. Don't allow that result to kind of be the end, be all and end all. Now, as I've already mentioned, the show is marking Careers Week because Inspire FM are talking about careers all throughout this week. Next week, I believe it is going to be the GCSE results. They are going to be coming out. And in the studio this morning, I'm joined by a wealth of guests over the phone and in the studio, sharing with me their creative journeys, which I'm super, super excited to do. Now, if you'd like to join in with any of the conversations, guys, always really enjoy listening and reading out your messages, then get in touch with us. You can actually contact us on the Facebook page for Inspire FM on the comments box, and also on WhatsApp as well, which is 07779481822. Now, today's show, I'm joined by a fabulous lineup of guests who are working in the field, who have actually left high-end jobs, for example, companies, banking companies, to actually follow their heart and work in either the charitable sector or the creative entrepreneur industry. I've also got a fantastic poet, not one but two, that will be performing pieces from their collection. One poet is joining me all the way from Wales over the phone, which is absolutely amazing. And a local poet as well will be joining us in the studio too. And in the studio, I'm also joined by another remarkable guest who really astounds me, and I'm so intrigued by her creative journey because she's actually a games industry illustrator. Yep, you heard it, a games industry illustrator. Now, games are very, very popular amongst young people. Every child in every household, and even adults, are kind of sort of addicted to some form of game. And it's an absolute pleasure to have Zakiah in the studio joining me. Now, Zakiah is a friend of the show because she's been on Inspire FM in the past. So she's joining me this morning once again. And also she's not here on her own because she's actually giving away one of her illustrations, which I'm super, super excited to kind of show you. Now, I've already put that on my personal Facebook page, and I've had, believe it or not, Zakiah, somebody all the way from India contact me about that illustration, believe it or not. But I'm sure, guys, you are wanting to find out more about Zakiah and less about me. So, assalamu alaikum, Zakiah.
Walaikum salam, Zakiah.
Thank you so very much for joining me this morning. How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing very good, thank you.
How are you coping with the weather and the actual the summer break? Are you on a summer break or are you working?
At the moment, I'm looking to change studios. So.
Change studios. Tell me more. What do you mean by changing studios?
Oh, I just mean, so the company I was working at the moment, I felt like I wanted to have a bigger challenge. So right now I'm just interviewing with a few other studios.
Okay, interesting. And then this is really quite interesting because it is Careers Week with Inspire FM, and we're wanting to inspire our listeners relating to careers. It could be starting a new career, changing direction, or just learning about different types of careers. Now, this show is all about creativity and engagement. And so you fit in so very nicely because your career is very quite unique. Unique in the sense, I don't know many Muslim girls who are actually in the games industry, but I have read there in Pakistan that there are a lot of young ladies kind of venturing into this and doing so well, and have kind of illustrated or worked with special effects in Hollywood movies as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's growing bigger there, the industry. For my research as well, they're opening up quite a few studios there. I started off from working I was going to be a pharmacist, so it's quite a big change.
Wow, from pharmacy to games illustration.
Yeah, games art.
Okay, so where did that change come about? Because that's quite a different industry, but it's like on the opposite spectrum.
Well, I've always the people who know me, they always know that I've always been someone who's really into art. Mm-hmm. Art has been my core ever since I was growing up. It's been something, not just a form of escape, but it's been something I've always been very serious about. Mm-hmm. And I've always loved science as well. So either I was going to be a scientist or I was going to be an artist. So when I started off, I started genuinely going to pursue being a pharmacist. Mm-hmm. So I did biomed for half a year. Wow. And then after that, I then had a breakthrough moment actually when I was in my apartment and I was painting. I was like, no, I really wanna be an artist. So from there, I just naturally led into the game industry.
Wow, just a breakthrough moment in your apartment.
Yeah.
Whilst you're painting, you decide, right, that's it, I want to do it. Now, how did your family relate to your breakthrough moment of not wanting to do pharmacy, but actual illustration and artistry?
It was challenging to explain at first, but I think because I had so much work to back me up and I had so much drive at the time and still now, I think they saw the fire in my eyes and then they were inspired by it.
The fire in your eyes, how poetic. It was like, do not challenge my moment. That fire was not anger, I hope.
No, it wasn't anger, no.
And here you are sharing your story. Now, I think it was a couple of years ago when I first interviewed you. And I think it may have been the first year of your degree course because you actually went on to do a degree in this area. So what was the course that you went to go on to study? So
I studied 3D games art at the University of Hertfordshire, which was a 3-year course. And it specializes in both VFX, animation and games art. And I went into specializing for games art.
And what was it about the games art industry that drew you to turn that passion or interest into a career?
I think it's generally I was drawn into it because out of the three things, games has been something I've always had a passion for, and it's like the modern day equivalent of the Renaissance in terms of the quality of the art. Oh, yes, very good quality art being produced. It's quite exciting.
Now, this is really quite something because you've called it the Renaissance of, art, like in the gaming industry. And I find that really quite something to hear. I would never have associated art of such high end and caliber with the games industry. So that shows my ignorance. But the way you said that, your face lit up. And your work is quite extraordinary. How would you describe it to listeners listening in? Because obviously we do have Facebook Live. I'm hoping so. You do have a piece with you, which you're actually wanting to give away. I understand. Do you have that piece? Are you
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, do you mind lifting it up
It's
and
quite large.
Yeah, showing it to the camera. Wow. That is extraordinary. It's very fairy tale like, very soft. I'm loving the softness in the illustration, and it's very there's a sweet subtlety about it. And how would you describe it to the listeners, this image that you're wanting to kind of this, and you've done this, is this hand painted or is this using graphic design?
I used Photoshop mainly for it, so I've used a combination of Photoshop with the photo bashing technique, but it's hand painted digitally. Hand
painted digitally. Yeah. The contrast of those two, and the fact that you've created something as beautiful as this. How would you describe your style of illustration?
I think I'd describe my style of illustration as semi-stylistic and fantasy space. I think you explained it pretty well. Because I'm into fairy tales and fantasy-based genres.
And it clearly is, and it's very quite beautiful. Now, this illustration, semi-stylistic, is that what you called it?
Semi-stylized, yeah.
Semi-stylized. Is this like a common, is this your main style that you create throughout all your illustrations?
I'd say because mainly my illustration work is more personal, I'd say definitely, it falls more towards the genres that I'm more interested in. Mm-hmm. So as for my work, I follow what the studio style and the genre is. But
okay, when you say studio style, it's like that's your employees?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you kind of follow a rationale or brief that they
exactly
put forward to you. Now, folks, this beautiful piece, does it have a title?
It's called Spring.
Spring.
Yeah.
Oh, how apt. Spring. This piece, Spring, is created by no other than Zakiah Abdullah. She's with us in the studio this morning, and she's a games illustrator. A games illustrator with a remarkable talent. It's an utterly beautiful piece that she's actually giving away to one lucky listener this morning. And we're going to be thinking of a question to give for you guys to answer to win this piece. Now, what I'm asking you guys is what profession or what profession does Zakiah Abdullah work in? What profession does Zakiah Abdullah work in? Very, very easy to answer. You can actually roll back on Facebook Live, rewind, and you can listen in to the interview to find out. Or you can actually go on to the Inspire FM Facebook page, because we've got a bit of a blurb there that tells you what she does as well. Look, I'm so helpful this morning. I'm giving away the answer because that's what it's all about. It's all about the good vibes, people, on the Urban Kube this morning. The time is 10:15. I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined by no other than Zakiah Abdullah, who's a games she's an artist and a games industry illustrator as well. She's giving away an absolutely stunning piece, which is a fairy tale piece. And that piece is being given away this morning. Now, if you'd like to join in with any of the conversations on the show this morning, it's 07779 481822. On today's show, we are talking about careers and creative career journeys that my guests have made or are still making, just to inspire and motivate you guys if you're wanting to kind of have a career change, and also to inspire our younger listeners who are actually following their new journey for the future. Those that have actually achieved their A-level results are now going on to university to very, very shortly, and those that will be receiving their GCSE results. So it's all about inspiring and providing some expert advice for those who've actually in it, who've done it and are wearing the t-shirt. In the studio is Zakiah Abdullah this morning. She is a games illustrator. So if you've got any questions, if you're a person listening into the show this morning and wants to venture in this industry, then please do get in touch. Now, on the show, I'm also joined by two other awesome guests all the way from London and Wales this morning. I'm going to be joined by Muhammad Malik. He's the founder of a social enterprise watch brand and the co-founder of Ramadan Legacy. He's an award-winning education which is an award-winning education company empowering Muslims to learn, love and live the month of Ramadan. Previously a Big Four auditor and financial accountant, Muhammad left the corporate world in 2016 to focus on startups, and most recently has been coaching first-time entrepreneurs and leading a startup pre-accelerator. So Muhammad will be joining us very, very shortly to share with us some great tips on career changes. Also joined by a friend of the show is no other than Hanan Issa. She's a Welsh Iraqi poet and writer. She has been featured on both ITV Wales and BBC Radio Wales and worked in partnership with National Museum Wales, Arts Mundi, Warwick University, Swansea Fringe, Stanza Festival, Wales Arts International and Serene Books. Her work has been published in Bennett Collective, Hedgehog Press, Wales Arts Review, Sagoon Mag and Lumen Journal. Poetry Wales, Y Stamp, Harthian, Sisterhood Magazine and Muslim Girls. The list is endless. Wow. Her winning monologue was featured at Bush Theatre's Hijabi Monologues, and she's the co-founder of Wales' first BAME open mic series, Where I'm Coming From. She was a 28 Hay Festival writer at work, and this morning she's going to be talking to us about her debut poetry pamphlet, My Body Can House Two Hearts, which is going to be published by Burning Eye Books in October 29. So that is Hanan Issa. We're also joined by another fabulous guest, a local from Luton, who's going to be reciting one of her poems as well this morning, and has a little bit of a link to our guest Zakiah. Zakiah, do you want to introduce your sister this morning?
My sister, she's Rabiah Abdullah, so she works in the pharmaceutical industry, but she also does poetry.
Wow. So she's in the pharmaceutical industry, so she didn't, they caught her. She didn't run away, unlike yourself. You decided to go into games illustration, but Rabiah decided to go towards the pharmacy industry, but it didn't actually dampen her creative spirit in any way, because she is a poet who's going to be performing on the show. So I'm super, super excited about that. Now, I came across an article, Zakiah. Now, you are a young person that changed their career interest or transition very, very early on. But I came across an article of a 80-year-old woman who had actually done her first ever art exhibition, and she decided to become an artist at the age of 80 and exhibit her work. So there's never an age limit. You can actually go out and do what your heart wants to at any age. Would you agree with that? I mean, have you come across that story?
I definitely came across that story. I found it very interesting because it's been brought up quite a lot, because it just shows you like how much passion and drive can really get you far. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned, it's not always about your grades, as I thought when I was growing up. It's also about where you see yourself going and what you really want to do and how you're going to get there. It's determination.
Now, for many people that may have crossed your path, do they ever get astounded that you are actually in this profession? Because it's not a profession we normally associate sort of Muslim girls to venture, and you wear the hijab as well. So how were you able to fit into an industry like this? And did you have any barriers of sorts?
I think it's definitely something which I get a lot of questions about. About like, what do I do, and having to explain the industry to people, not just as a Muslim but as a person. Really, it's not really a common industry, but it's definitely an industry that's growing, and it's definitely an industry full of a lot of creativity and vibe to it. Challenges, I'd say, is more of when I was starting off, trying to explain it to my parents, and also trying to get the approval of culturally from people. But as I grew as an artist, I realized that it's all about your voice and what you have to say. That's more important than anything else, and you shouldn't let anything dampen that down.
Your voice and what you have to say is more important, and you shouldn't allow that to be dampened down. That quote was by Zakiah. How extraordinary. Now, you mentioned culturally explaining that. So people, I mean, what is it culturally that you had to kind of justify?
I think it's because generally when in our culture it's associated with a lot of people growing up, they associate to be doctors or pharmacists or lawyers. So to kind of be out there and say, I want to be in the creative fields is a really big risk, not just in our culture, but outside our culture as well.
Right.
So
now, for you growing up, culturally, were you inspired by art and creativity? And did you know of any other games illustrators that looked and sounded like you?
it was very hard to find people, I admit, when I was growing up. That's why one reason I wanted to come on the show, to show that there's people out there doing this. But there was one artist I found actually when I went to a convention, and she was by the name of Ami, I think. And it was around 5 years ago or so. But she was an illustrator and her work was remarkable. It was amazing. And I was just so surprised to see someone similar to me. She was Iranian, but she was similar to me. And it showed me at that age that it can be done, that it was possible.
Now, I've just received a message from a photographer that is based in America. And she's just said, oh my goodness, Zakiah's work is amazing.
That's quite nice. That's nice to hear.
And thank you, Medea, for your message. And and I'm getting a lot of that on my social media. People have seen your work and they're like, wow, because it's very unexpected.
Yeah,
because
I would say so, yeah.
This genre is just not something that you'd expect a sort of a Pakistani Muslim girl to kind of venture towards. And this is what makes it quite exciting. Do you like the fact that people are quite blown away by your work, the quality of it? Because it is very beautifully, and it does look, there's a fusion of like modernity, modern and Renaissance art in this piece.
Yes, that's something I really try to achieve because I'm heavily inspired by Renaissance paintings and a lot of the pre-Raphaelite time paintings. But I'm also inspired by what's going on in the game industry and what's going on in the film industry. So it's kind of a fusion of that and mixed in with a bit of culture as well. But yeah, I like it when people get surprised by what I do. It's interesting. I find it really interesting, yeah.
What is it that you find interesting?
Just to see their reactions and just to see them get excited by what I do. It's like just to see the twinkle in their eye kind of thing.
I like that, the twinkle in their eye, because you've got a twinkle in your eye as well. Oh, bless you. Now, folks, we are heading off to a break. And after the break, I'm joined by another fantastic guest who is supporting my show today in reference to Careers Week. He is an extraordinary young man who actually gave up his career in the banking industry to follow his passion for sort of supporting others to make a difference in their lives. So I'm going to be joined by Muhammad Malik straight after the break. Also still joined by Zakiah. So do comment on all our social media platforms on any questions regarding her work, and we are giving away her painting too. So join me straight after this break for more creative careers conversations from me and Zakiah. Assalamu alaikum.
The blue sky is blue like blue bubble gum, but it prays to Allah, it prays to Allah, and like the flavor of the blue sky and the bubble gum won't last. We've got to thank Allah before our chances go past. I don't wanna be a grown-up like the grown-ups I have seen, 'cause the grown-ups I have seen don't seem to have much fun. They don't get down on the floor enough to pray or play with toys. When I'm a grown-up, I won't wanna be one. Now if I lived back at the time of the Prophet, I know that he would be different. I just know he'd find the time, and I would make him something special, like some paper planes or something. I could race those planes with him or get a camelback ride. The blue sky is blue like blue bubble gum, but it prays to Allah, it prays to Allah, and like the flavor of the blue sky and the bubble gum won't last. We've got to thank Allah before our chances go past. I'd like to write a promise I want you to make it to, that if I misbehave a little like I sometimes do, You won't get really mad and you'll be patient like the prophet. I really love my promise. How about you? 'Cause the blue sky is blue like blue bubble gum, but it prays to Allah. It prays to Allah, and like the flavor of the blue sky and the bubble gum won't last. We've got to thank Allah before our chances go past. To be a mommy or a daddy must be really, really hard. So let's take a break together, 'cause I know how much you try. Let's have a dish of applesauce, then tumble in the yard, and we can play and we can pray along with the blue sky. The blue sky is blue like blue bubble gum, but it prays to Allah. It prays to Allah, and like the flavor of the blue sky and the bubble gum won't last. We've got to thank Allah before our chances go past. We've got to thank Allah before our chances go past.
Tune in to Inspire FM on 105.1 FM and globally at www.inspirefm.org. Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Kube with Sister Shemiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It is 10:30, Monday, 19th of August, and you are listening to what else? It is the Urban Kube with me, Shemiza, taking all the way up to 12 o'clock on Inspire FM. We're beaming out to the fabulous people of Luton surrounding areas, Peterborough and Sheffield this morning. A massive big assalamu alaikum to everybody tuning in. How has your weekend been, people? I hope it's been fabulous. You've had a relaxing time and enjoying the weather as always, however unpredictable the weather may be. My goodness, it was raining and then it was sunny and then it was windy. I just can't keep up. I wonder how you're keeping up. I'm going to be finding out how my guests are keeping up with the weather. They're in the studio this morning and we're keeping up with their careers on the show because it is Inspire FM's Careers Week, and we are wanting to share the creative or the very inspirational career journeys of our guests in the studio and over the phone this morning. In the studio right now, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce two local ladies who are friends of the show because they have been on the show in the past as well, who are sharing their passion for creativity. Absolutely wonderful to have the very awesome Rabiah Abdullah joining me this morning, and her, believe it or not, her sister, who is no other than Zakiah Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum, Rabiah.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Now, you're rushing on your feet this morning because you're in a meeting and now you're here. Thank you so very much for joining me. How's your morning been, apart from rushing around?
It's been okay, actually. The weather's quite nice, since you mentioned the weather. Yeah, it's been quite nice. Yeah.
Now, it's National Soft Ice Cream Day, people. So, when's the last time you had a soft ice cream that came from a van? Because I just feel soft ice cream, the best ice cream, the best comes from a van. I don't know.
I think probably a couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago? None throughout the summer?
No, unfortunately, I went for the frozen ones.
You went for the frozen ones. Well, what about you, Zakiah? Do you prefer soft ice cream or do you prefer frozen?
Soft ice cream, I'd say. Definitely.
Any particular, do you go for the actual sauce on the ice cream?
Yes, definitely the raspberry sauce.
Yeah?
I think Italian ice cream is definitely the best. So
it's the war of ice creams now. What about kulfi?
Kulfi's quite nice.
Yeah.
I don't really like that flavour, to be honest.
Really? You must be the only person I've ever come across that said that. From South Asian heritage. Are you into kulfi?
Kulfi's okay, yeah. I like the date flavour.
Uh-huh. Now, date flavour. I've not come across that.
Oh, no, there's a date flavour. It's really nice.
Wow. That's interesting. Never tried that. I've got to try that. That's on my list to do. Why am I talking ice cream? It is National Soft Ice Cream Day, people, and I always have a national day of some sort, and it just seems quite fitting. We are heading to the end of the summer holidays, summer break. Goodness me, it's going by very quickly. The children, I don't know. My children are getting a little bit sort of, I want to go to school now. I'm getting bored, and they even said to me, so when are we getting our uniforms together? I'm like, gosh, you lot are quite eager to get out of the house and get back to school. Are they the feelings that your children are having? How are you guys getting on with keeping the little ones entertained? Would love to find out from you. To do that, it's 07779481822. And would love to find out, when's the last time you guys had a soft ice cream, possibly from an ice cream van? Now, what makes me laugh and what makes me giggle is, you know what, when it says 99 soft ice cream, you expect to pay 99. Not anymore, people. It's about £2 to grab a 99. How does that even work? I don't understand. I do not understand. I just think that's a little bit unfair. I don't know, Zakiah. Well, what do you think?
Inflation.
Inflation.
Everything. Even the fun fair rides, like the prices have increased in them. They used to be like 50p, weren't they? And then
back in the day,
now it's like £2 and stuff.
Which century were they? 50p? I just, that was a long, long time ago. My goodness. But this comes back to the Inspire FM Eid event. Congratulations to Inspire FM, and I hope everybody that attended the Inspire FM Eid event had a fantastic time. We did try very hard to keep those rides at £1. So you should have gone to the Inspire FM Eid event if you wanted a £1 ride. Did you go?
No,
I thought not. Naughty you. Naughty you. Now, Rabiah, you're going to be talking to us about your poetry journey very, very shortly. But just before then, I'm joined by a guest over the phone who's going to be joining me all the way from London by the name of Muhammad Malik. And whilst we get ready to speak to him, Rabiah, I just want to come back to you. It's really quite fascinating that Zakiah talked about entering the pharmacy industry, but deciding not to study that, but go into games illustration. However, you ventured into pharmacy, but you're also a poet on the side.
Oh, yeah. So basically, no, I just continued my career and focused more on studies and like that route. But then what happened is, I don't know, like, because, when you're doing, like, work that is very logical and very kind of, because the human brain has two sides. You've got the creative side, you've got the logical kind of side. And I think everyone kind of needs to use both sides, and then you can feel really balanced. So I guess I was always on the logical side, for example, with my work and things. But then I just felt like, okay, I need to do something else. So before I was doing, like, little drawings with my sister and stuff like that. But then just recently, I started writing poems.
Wow.
It just came out like very recently, maybe a couple of months ago or something like that. I just basically just got that urge and I just started writing poems and stuff. But when I was little, I used to write like stories. But the thing was, like, I didn't pursue it because basically my work involves a lot of writing anyway. So I thought it's very like time consuming, I guess, to kind of write long stories and things like that. So I thought, how can I kind of present a story in a short and succinct way kind of thing that will relate to the reader without too many words and things. So then that's why I started doing the poetry thing.
How awesome. Recently. And we're going to have the pleasure of hearing your poetry very, very shortly in the show. Now, the poetry, have you actually performed the poetry on a public platform?
I've never ever.
So this is going to be the first time you're going to be doing that?
Basically...
you're going to be doing that for us. You were saying about your poems?
So what about the poems?
So are you going to venture onto a public platform, do you think?
Yes, sorry, I was saying yes. Basically, so there is one event that I'm going to do just to try out. It's a ladies' poetry event in London. It's called S Poetry.
Fantastic.
So that's in the end of this month. So I'm going to try out there. But for me, this is something definitely new. So,
well, this is what this platform is all about. The Urban Kube is about celebrating new voices and those that are quite familiar with performing too. So it's an absolute pleasure that you're going to be showcasing your poetry on exclusively on the Urban Kube. So I'm super looking forward to that. So guys, it is at 10:38. You're listening to the Urban Kube with me, Shemiza, taking it all the way up to 12 o'clock. Now, this show is all about creative conversations with inspirational trailblazers locally, nationally and internationally. And today's show is no exception. And we're working in line with Inspire FM's theme of the week, which is all about careers. And it's because it's Careers Week. Now, The whole purpose of Careers Week is to support our wonderful youngsters who many have received their A-level results last week and many are going to be receiving their GCSE results as well. So my guests in the show have had all those experiences and are the living proof of the tail end of it. They've worn the T-shirt and they're sharing their experiences. Now, that experience I'm sharing across the country with fabulous guests. And this morning, I'm delighted to be joined by a very talented young individual by the name of Muhammad Malik. Now, he is the founder of a social enterprise watch brand and the co-founder of Ramadan Legacy. Now, Ramadan Legacy is an award-winning education company empowering Muslims to learn, love, and live the month of Ramadan. Previously, he was a Big Four auditor and financial accountant. Muhammad left the corporate world in 2016 to focus on startups, and most recently has been coaching first-time entrepreneurs and leading a startup I can't even say that word. Pre-accelerator. Do you know what? That's it. Thank you, Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. You're going to have to help me with that word.
I was like, yeah. I thought it was Shemiza. You've just referred to yourself as Shemiza, so you've confused me to begin with. But now I have to. Yeah, so it's pre-accelerators. I don't know. They've just complicated the term with that pre added on top, but it's essentially just a weekly program to get people kind of into this startup mindset. So the main kind of like, so it's like every week, just a 2-hour thing. So alhamdulillah, it's a brilliant way to get started within startup.
Fantastic. Now, this is the whole purpose of today's show, is getting people motivated, getting them started up, and possibly inspiring them to have a career change and inspiring them towards potentially a new career. Now, you're not shy to this because you've had an extraordinary journey in your very young life, mashallah, from being at one of a leading sort of finance company to now becoming self-employed and following your heart's direction. Tell us a little bit more about where you began, because I understand that you worked for, is it Deloitte?
Yes, yeah. So essentially, my kind of career path, it kind of started at university. I was really glad to, and really lucky, in fact, to come across an organisation called SEO London. Mm-hmm. So they help kind of like ethnic minority students with getting internships and also graduate schemes at corporate, whether that's legal or professional services. So I landed a internship with Deloitte between my second and third years at university, and I was studying accounting and finance at City University. So alhamdulillah, that opened the doors, and through that internship I was then able to get onto the graduate program at Deloitte, alhamdulillah. So the essentially kind of like post-university, there's a lot of routes available. So I chose the professional services, so that's kind of audit and financial audit basically. And there's other graduate schemes as well, like consulting, tax, and so on.
Fun. Mohammed, I want to ask you this question. Sorry for interrupting. Did you go out and look for these opportunities, or did somebody help you to get onto these schemes? Because I think a lot of young people, I hear from, especially the South Asian community, that they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get onto things. Exactly. Nobody's showing them the direction. And if you come from a typically sort of, say, a middle-class family where you've got professionals, parents or aunties and uncles, there's always or siblings, there's always somebody directing you. But if you're from a family that doesn't, or you might be the first one going to university, how do you even find out what to do?
Exactly. So I want to tell you, just to kind of go into this slightly, because as a typical British Pakistani experience so my mother was quite adamant on me to become a doctor, like Dr. Banja, we need a doctor within the family. So because obviously that's a desi requirement, right? You want to have at least one daughter or son to become a doctor. But so that was my initial kind of driving force, was to become a doctor. But it was during a gap year that I took after not getting into med school. when I actually came across family friends that were in accounting and finance, and so I looked to myself and I thought, what was my driving force? What's the intrinsic motivation for medicine? And that essentially was the need to help others. And when I came across these accountants, right, and they were doing extraordinary charity work and potentially were able to help way more people through their charity work than, say, a doctor would do, although albeit less hands-on, I thought, wait, hang on a second. These guys are able to fund projects in Kenya, Pakistan, through their, the philanthropic projects and stuff. So why not check this out? So actually, then I decided to apply for accounting and finance as, just to fulfill that need to help others. So essentially, I didn't have anybody to guide me at all from at home. And it was just coming across by chance, these family friends, and speaking to them at lunch or whatever, that I learned about accounting and finance. Otherwise, it was just doctor. That's all it was, So that's what I knew.
Rabiah, we have Rabiah and Zakiah. Zakiah is a games illustrator, and Rabiah is a pharmacist by day and poet by night. Now, Rabiah, you're giggling at listening into Muhammad sharing his story. Do you get his vibe? Do you understand what he's talking about?
No, I totally get it, because I had a similar situation, because growing up, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and my parents were like, be a doctor, but then I realised I don't like cutting people up and stuff. So then I just thought, what am I interested in? And I guess somehow I got a work experience in GSK. I did that, and then I really, really enjoyed that, and I thought, okay, this is what I want to do, but I don't know what it is, but I want to do it. And then somehow I researched, and then I was like, oh, that's pharmacy. I was like, okay. But I'm not kind of doing the typical community pharmacy thing. Basically, I'm working in the pharmaceutical industry, so it's a bit more kind of...
She's the lady behind the drugs, people.
No,
it's not bad stuff. It's the good stuff.
Good stuff. That's a disclaimer, folks.
in quantity, right?
Yeah, in quantity. We're going to be catching up with Rabiah, sharing her story, but I'm going to come back. Thank you for that, Rabiah. I'm going to come back to you, Muhammad. Now, moving on, fast forward, you are working in an industry that... many would be like, wow, what a fantastic job. You're living the dream, Muhammad, working in this leading finance company. So what happened?
So, essentially it's the audit is essentially quite sporadic in terms of the way that you'll be working. So there's a thing that we have called the dreaded busy season, right? So from January to around about April, it would be pretty hardcore, to be honest. So you'd be working from a lot of my clients that I was working on. So how it works in audit is essentially mini jobs. So jobs that may last 3 weeks to maybe a month and a half, depending on the size of the audit. So you're moving on from job to job. And so with January to April, it's pretty hectic. So some of my clients, I was working 8 o'clock all the way to 10 p.m. at night. So, for example, so I didn't know the reality of audit until I went there. But it really builds you a lot. There's a very, very steep learning curve in audit. So essentially, first you're doing very much manual work, quite kind of like keyboard bashing and kind of like that's what they call it, and number crunching. But then you get to this sweeter spot where you're doing a lot more analytical work and also leading group. So alhamdulillah, I got to the stage past the initial kind of very kind of manual stuff, more into the analytical stuff, and that's when I got interested a lot into Islamic finance, especially kind of like reading around Islamic finance, faith-driven finance and stuff like that. I actually did my thesis at university on Islamic microfinance. So I was like, wow, someday, inshallah, I would love to get into this field. But then I through a friend that was working at a bank called Qatar Islamic Bank in London, I actually ended up getting an offer for a role in the bank, but it was a slightly more junior than what I was at Deloitte, but I decided to kind of go into that field. And
that takes
yeah, it was quite an eye opener.
that takes a lot of confidence to actually leave an industry that is paying you, excuse me if I'm wrong, good money, to kind of come down a scale and follow your heart. That's quite brave. Was that the right decision for you? And when was that moment where you decided, right, I want to change direction, this is where I want to kind of be? Or are you still on that journey where you're still searching?
So I want to be totally honest here, right? I mean, it comes down to what we mentioned before about having advice and people around you. I didn't actually consult anybody apart from my old man, right? so essentially, looking back, perhaps I should have consulted, because it was, from my perspective, Islamic finance, future, let's go for it. Dad's like, yeah, let's do this. But if you were to, when it comes to a career change, it's always good to speak to people that you know are in the fields, or that are essentially what you want to be in a few years' time. And that's why I would say to whoever's looking to, whether you've got your A-level results right now and you're not happy with them, or you are, you've got the results that you want and you're looking to go down a certain career path, seek out those mentors. You could do so through even like LinkedIn. Just create a LinkedIn account, search for the people that are
good advice.
People that you want to be like in a few years' time, or look within your friends and family. Look, just try to consult with somebody, and you know what? It's incredible how people are just willing to help, especially young people. The number of young people that have kind of like contacted me through LinkedIn, and I've kind of turned they become like mentees, or even just short kind of calls as well. I'm more than happy to do that. So essentially, I went for a role that was quite a bit junior, in a field that I thought was expanding and potential. And when I landed that role, I realized this is not me. I'm doing a lot of really kind of like junior tasks, really kind of things that are maybe not in line with my strengths. They were not junior tasks, so to say, but like kind of more admin stuff. And I'm more used to the kind of analytical kind of tasks. So yeah, it wasn't really a perfect match. And the other thing was also an eye-opener into Islamic finance as well for me.
Wow. What an experience. Folks, if you've tuned in, you're listening to the Urban Kube with me, Shemiza, and my absolutely fantastic guest. I'm speaking to no other than Muhammad Malik, who's sharing his journey, his career from working as an auditor in a leading firm to now following his passion and working and supporting young people and upcoming entrepreneurs as part of his startup organization, which is the aim to pre-accelerate. I said that right, didn't I? Pre-accelerate startup companies. Exactly. Now, we will be heading to a break, Muhammad, but I do want to continue this conversation with you, because I think it's absolutely fascinating, the fact that your experience that you've just talked about, you're talking about engaging, supporting young people, but you're actually doing that. You're not just saying, contact me via LinkedIn, contact me, which we're going to find out what your social media handles are, but you now set up, you're coaching people. Why did you feel it's necessary to set up the coaching side of things? And is this something that you wish you were given when you were younger?
Exactly. So there's two things when you're starting up, when you kind of like leave corporate world, or even you start your side hustle, that are really essential. Either getting a mentor or getting into a community. And alhamdulillah, I was able to join a community for ethnic, minority, and diverse founders called YSYS, Your Startup, Your Story. So these guys were an incredible community on a program called Slack. Slack is a channel that you can access on your mobile or on the internet. So this channel is, mashallah, it's been supporting me, and I've been helping wherever I can. The community is essential for a founder, first-time founder, because starting up is an extremely lonely place, right? So entrepreneurial journey is really lonely, and you're often by yourself working on your dream. And it's critical to have somebody that you can kind of, somebody that can be a soundboard essentially for you. And the other aspect is kind of like the art of startup, right? Is pretty much like a science that a lot of first time people, that are going into starting their own product or service, they just feel that they're so passionate about this, but they have no idea about marketing, about testing their assumptions, about pivoting, about, proof of concept, all these kind of stuff I actually learned after I ventured in, after I spent my money and after I failed my first kind of like startup. Then you realize about these, methods for example, the lean startup methodology, something called agile, something called design thinking, and then you come across these things and you're realizing, wow, there's actually a proven method.
And this is what's so exciting is the fact that you've tried, you failed, you've succeeded, you have a real raw experience, and then that makes you more believable on your path, your journey. I am going to continue this conversation with you, Muhammad, inshallah, after the break. I hope you can still join us, because you are in the day an entrepreneur, but at night you're a comedian, a comedy writer. What a combination. We're going to be finding out a little bit more about your comedy journey, the creative side, because you're doing it all. He's doing it all, people. This is Muhammad Malik on the Urban Kube with me, Shemiza, and the time is 10:54. Also joined by Rabiah and Zakiah, they're sisters, extraordinary sisters from Luton. Now, there's a question for you, Rabiah, from one of our listeners, Asiya. Thank you very much, Asiya, and walaikum salam to you. She has a question for the guests, and also this is something that maybe Muhammad can answer to. She is asking, her daughter has a uni place for pharmacy and dentistry. Which one should she choose and why? Yeah. Goodness me. We're going to be heading off to a break, and after that, hopefully Asiya's listening in, because I don't want to cut you off. Regarding that, Muhammad, if you can still join us after the break, it'd be awesome to kind of share your link so that the listeners can kind of connect with you, because I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal for young startup companies. Is there an age limit, Muhammad, for people starting up? That's the question I'm going to ask you straight after, because an 80-year-old woman had actually launched her first art gallery exhibition at the age of 80. So there should be no age limit. Folks, you are listening to the Urban Kube. We're heading off to a break. After the break, we'll still continue with creative career or career advice and guidance, because it is Inspire FM's Creative Careers Week. Not creative, but Careers Week. And we're super looking forward to sharing more. So join me straight after this break. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Kube with Sister Shemiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It's 11 o'clock on Monday, 19th of August, and you're listening to Inspire FM, the Urban Kube show. It is Careers Week this week. Inspire FM is going all out and speaking to creatives across each of our career-orientated individuals across the whole of the radio station this week to inspire, motivate those that are newly qualified to go on to their creative journey, and those that are wanting some inspirational or motivation to have maybe a career change. On the show today, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by a number of guests from a wealth of fields, not just locally, nationally as well, in the studio and over the phone. I've had the absolute pleasure of speaking to no other than dynamic sisters Rabiah and Zakiah Abdullah, mashallah. Zakiah is a games illustrator and artist. She's giving away a beautiful piece of work today for one lucky listener. What you've got to do, guys, is tell me what industry does she work in. 07779 481822 is the number to find to share your answer with me. Leave your name and the answer. What games industry? Oh, I gave it away. That's too much sugar this morning in my coffee. I need to calm down. So what industry does Zakiah work in? And we are also joined by her sister Rabiah, who is a pharmacist in the day and a poet by night. She's in the studio too, answering questions. Now, we had Asiya contact us, and she's asked the question for the guests, basically, in particular, to to Rabiah. Her daughter has a uni place for pharmacy and dentistry, and which one should she choose and why? So we're letting Rabiah just think about that, and she will be answering that question very shortly. It might be a question that many parents might be listening into, or many young people who've received their A-levels or applying to go to university this year may want to kind of listen into. But I'm joined by another fantastic guest all the way from London who's had such a remarkable career journey from working in a leading finance company to then going towards Islamic finance to setting up a company, a very fabulous social enterprise, watch brand company, co-founding the Ramadan Legacy, and now he is working towards coaching first-time entrepreneurs by setting up a startup accelerator company, and guess what, people? He does that all in the day. He's a comedian as well, a stand-up comedian. Let's hear all about it. Muhammad, thank you for staying on the line. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. Not by night, but yeah, I try to do it in the day as well. But yeah,
it's a play on words. You know, I need to have my moment. I've got to make it dramatic and entertaining.
Yeah.
Now, you've had such a fantastic career journey, and it feels as if the story doesn't stop there for you. You're going to carry on doing lots more, and I'm super excited to kind of follow your journey. But the comedy writing side has really quite intrigued me, being so kind of business orientated, and then following your passion for writing. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I think it's really important to exercise both parts of your brain, right? The analytical and the kind of like the other part, which I keep on forgetting. But essentially, when you do a bit more creative. So when you do the more creative kind of stuff, it also helps you with your analytic stuff. So let's say you're doing your, I don't know, pharmacy, you're studying your, science, STEM subject. It's good to just take a break and then perhaps draw like a plant or something.
A plant.
Incorporate exactly a plant or something halal to draw, right? And when you're, for example, studying, a lot of people tend to, and obviously this is more for the A-level students as well as university, wherever you are, when you're doing your notes or whatever, try to incorporate diagrams, get your highlighters in. So using that concept, that's why I kind of like try to do something creative from, back from school till now. I've always done something creative just to balance out my kind of, the accounting side of things as well. So yeah, initially it was drama theatre at school that got me started into this. But then later on, I actually came across most recently an 8-week comedy course run by a comic guru called Logan Murray, right? And after that, we had to perform a stand-up, and alhamdulillah, I got quite a bit of good feedback for that, and then I carried on performing. I did another performance as well after that. So it's something that inshallah probably will be carrying forward with me.
Oh, wow. What I love here is the fact that all our guests in the studio, and yourself included, are venturing and balancing both sides of their brains and doing it so well as well. And I think this is very inspiring to listeners. What would you say to folk that are listening in right now? What sort of advice and guidance would you give to any young person who's now kind of looking at venturing out into a career? What tips could you give them?
I would actually, in terms of looking back, giving my young self advice, I would say look at those things that are like the dynamic skills as well. So when you're deciding what to do, essentially, kind of like a Venn diagram, if you were to draw different circles, the first circle being what you're interested in, second circle is what you're good at, and the third obviously circle is what the world needs, right?
Oh, I like that.
Having that, yeah, exactly. So that sweet spot that matches all these three bubbles, so to speak, that's the golden area where you should focus in terms of career, right? And also for Muslims, essentially, where we should be focused on long-term vision, right? How can I help not only the Ummah but the Muslims, the world in general is in need of? And So essentially looking at, and the other things I would like to throw in there for the listeners, right, are fields that maybe you didn't think of. Have you thought of artificial intelligence, data, big data? We're talking about things like the psychology of technology.
Wow.
And, things like project management, product development. These are really in-demand fields that I didn't, and I'm going to be throwing my hands up there and say that I didn't know about these things until of recent, right? And it's when you go into kind of like areas like the what we call the Silicon Roundabout in London, the Shoreditch, all these areas that are emerging tech companies. You sit with them and you realise what are they looking for? They're not looking for the traditional kind of people. We're looking for generalists, looking for people that I've mentioned in these different roles. So I would say, look at try things. That's the number one rule. If anything that you want to take away from what I'm saying, all these random stuff, just try different things and research as well. Look into these in-demand roles as well, like I mentioned, and have a vision. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? What do you want to do? What are the things that really lights your soul on fire? Is it kind of, education? Is it whatever it is? Go for it, inshallah. And that question, just obviously, mashallah, the sister would be able to answer it perhaps better than me, but it really depends on your child, sister, as to what she is more into and more inclined to. So looking at kind of pharmacy, dentistry, it's really kind of where do they visualize it? I would actually do this really kind of unorthodox exercise, right? I would literally vision and kind of like imagine myself in the role and go through the day in as much detail as you can as a dentist or as a pharmacist, and do that exercise where you'll kind of like vision, instill that vision within your mind. I wake up in the morning, I'm a dentist. How do I feel about this? And then compare that to how would you feel as a pharmacist. This is kind of a really easy way to gut check which one of the two is better for you.
How fantastic. Some great advice there. Gut check. Really feel that moment. Envisage it in your mind. Wow. Muhammad, it's been such a pleasure having you join on the show. And I really hope that you will join us in the studio because there's so much that you can share with our listeners. Super inspiring. You've had such a fantastic journey career-wise, and I don't think it's going to stop there. How can people get in touch with you, Muhammad? How can they connect with you regarding your social enterprise that you're wanting to kind of engage, first-time social entrepreneurs, and just some of the other projects that you're involved in as well?
Okay, sure. So my LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/IN/Muhammad Malik 0. So that's MUHAMMAD MALIK 0. And my email, you can get in touch with me at Muhammad@ramadanlegacy.com. And yeah, those two are probably the easiest ways to get in touch with me, inshallah.
Now, folks, we've had quite a lot of interest in a lot of the conversations that we had with Muhammad this morning. Do go back to the repeated show, which will be 8 p.m. He will be, inshallah, you will be joining us in the studio shortly, won't you, Muhammad, to talk more, because there's so much to share with yourself. Thank you so very much for joining us. And it's actually National Soft Ice Cream Day, Muhammad, so you can have one. Yes, you need to go and get yourself one, because I understand now that ice cream is actually good for you if you have it for breakfast. Yep, people. Wow, research is suggesting this. Why? I don't know why. I need to do a bit more reading there, but I don't mind. I'm totally rocking with this. I'm super into soft ice cream. Thank you so very much, Muhammad, for joining us this morning. You're very welcome. That was Muhammad Malik, mashallah, joining us this morning, talking to us about his absolutely fantastic career. How inspiring. How super inspiring. Now, I'm going to be joined by another fantastic guest, inshallah. She is a friend of the show. She is no other than Hanan Issa, who is one of the most remarkable spoken word poets on the scene right now, and she's joining us all the way from Wales, I believe. I wonder if she's had any soft ice cream this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Hanan.
Alaikum salam, Shemiza, and your guest. Hello.
How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. What was that about ice cream?
It's National Soft Ice Cream Day today.
Oh, Oh, okay.
You need to go and get one. But I think, are you one of the? Do you like an ice cream from an ice cream van, or do you prefer it from like a freezer from the local supermarket?
Definitely good old 99 with a flake and nuts. That's me.
Oh, that's a bit posh. Adding the nuts in there. Do you get them from the ice cream van?
Yeah, they'll do your 99 and then they just dunk it in some nuts.
No, I'm totally going off topic. I'm going off topic. They're not 99p anymore.
Oh, I know, it's a disgrace.
It is, isn't it? Oh, gosh. Moving on. Now, my darling, you're joining us all the way. Is it from Wales this morning? What's the weather like?
It's actually surprisingly sunny.
Ah, lovely. Now, I read somewhere that Wales is one of the leading tourist spots across England. So Wales is the place to be at the moment. I saw that earlier on in the week and it reminded me of you.
Oh, we do have amazing beaches and parks and everything in between.
And do you use that space to kind of inspire your writing? Because today you are joining me as my poet on the show this morning. And mashallah, you're also going to be talking about your new debut poetry pamphlet, My Body Can House Two Hearts. You've had an extraordinary writing journey from the last time I spoke to you, mashallah, because you were, your winning monologue was featured at Bush Theatre's Hijabi Monologues. And you have not stopped your writing since. It has been flowing, my dear, and making some serious moves, across the country, especially in Wales. So how have you been, my dear? How have you been?
I think you kind of summed it up there. I'm very, very, as all freelancers, we're happy when the work keeps coming. So I'm loving every minute of it, to be honest.
Mashallah. Now, today we are highlighting careers and career aspirations, motivating, advising our listeners this morning, those that may want to potentially change their career or those that are venturing out on the path to a new career. Now, my dear, have you always been interested in writing? Is this what you began in the early stages? Did you qualify in a degree that would take you towards like writing poetry?
Interestingly, I have always written, and I studied English literature. That was my my degree in university, but I never saw it as a career that I could devote my full time to. So I've always had jobs in the third sector, so in charities and things like that, and done this as sort of a part-time passion career. And it's only since January of this year that I took the leap to go freelance full time.
Wow.
So I do feel like it's been an interesting ride. Yeah.
And you taking that leap in January, you're definitely not looking back. So that leap was a good move, right?
Yes, definitely. To anyone who's thinking of doing it, I would say give it a try. All you can do is fail or succeed, and you just got to give it a try. And
we should never mark it as a failure, as being if something doesn't work, consider it a failure. It is an experience. We learn from that experience, and we change, and we should always keep trying. Rabia, would you agree with those sentiments?
100% agree. You have to fail in life to succeed. That's what I've learned from life experience, and my poem kind of, on the one that I'm going to present, kind of highlights that in some aspect about slight failures, but then if you always have that vision in your sight, you would always succeed in what you do, basically, or even amend your direction slightly. But yeah, failure is a part of life. I don't think people should dwell on the failures. It's definitely like a learning, and you can only learn from it, and it can only make you a better and a stronger person.
And Zakiah, your thoughts on that? Because you have an extraordinary career as a games illustrator. Did you ever feel that, gosh, what if this doesn't work out because I'm not going to go do pharmacy, my first choice of career?
I think definitely it's kind of a gut instinct you need to follow when you're pursuing your career. It's not just the logical, irrational decisions you're making. But yeah, there's always the giant risk of things not working out. But the thing is that in life, if you don't take those risks, then you don't reap the rewards.
Now, Muhammad Malik, who was our guest earlier, Hanan, mentioned that when you're looking to change direction, or you're looking for a career, then maybe do like a diagram and explore or imagine yourself in that space and follow your gut. When you write, Hanan, do you follow, does it have to come from your gut?
Ooh, honestly, I can't write about things that I'm not passionate about. I do find it, so for example, as a freelancer, you get commissions, which are things that people ask you to write about. And I'm very careful in trying to choose commissions that I can anchor some kind of interest in, put it that way. I think it must be very difficult to have to write in a creative way about something that you just have no feelings for.
Now, your debut poetry pamphlet, congratulations on that. I'm so excited about this. I absolutely love the imagery. It's called My Body Can House Two Hearts. Wow. The image is very profound. Tell me firstly, the title, why do you talk of two hearts? And then we're going to talk about the image. And I'm going to show my games illustrator in the studio the image, and she can kind of give her thoughts as well.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. You're such a lovely hype woman, Shemiza.
I scream in the morning, my dear.
Okay, I feel like that's the way to go. So yeah, My Body Can House Two Hearts. It came from two ideas that are really important to me: the power of women and the ability to raise up others along with yourself. So the idea that a woman's body is full of enough strength and power to actually harness two hearts is based on a verse in the Quran. So Allah actually says that he never created a man that had two hearts, and so the inference is that women can. And we know that we literally can, because we give birth, so we have children, so we have hearts, another heart within our body. But I think, like, so many verses, there's more than a literal understanding for that. And I'm very interested in a feminist called Audre Lorde's work, and she's written this essay called The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. And her writing really resonated with this verse for me, and this strength. She talks about the strength that women have, that's this kind of enormous capacity to love that isn't kind of sacrificial and selfless, but is not afraid to support other women and raise other women up, rather than have this fear of this idea that we're competing for space.
Right.
So rather than we're competing for space and we have to fight to get that space, actually, if we pull everyone along, there will be enough space for us all.
Of course.
And then obviously the two hearts as well it sort of speaks to my mixed heritage. I feel like there are kind of two places on the map that anchor my heritage. So it's about that as well.
And your heritage, you're Welsh and Iraqi, which you do celebrate in your writing. Your writing is extraordinary, and I'm a massive big fan, and it's always a pleasure having you sharing this. And I feel so delighted that, we're going to be hearing a piece from My Body Can House Two Hearts. So whilst I allow you to get ready to perform this piece, let me just introduce you again to our wonderful listeners. Folks, if you've just tuned in, it's 11:20 and I'm joined by some amazing guests. And one of my guests is no other than Hanan Issa. She's a Welsh Iraqi poet and writer, and she's featured on both ITV Wales and BBC Radio Wales, and worked in partnership with the National Museum Wales, Warwick University, Swansea Fringe, and Wales Arts International, just naming a few. Her work has been published in Hedgehog Press, Wales Arts Review, Lumen Journal, Poetry Wales, Y Stamp, Sisterhood Magazine, and Muslim Girl. Her winning monologue was featured at Bush Theatre's Hijabi Monologues, which I hope you remember, guys, because I did interview her just a day after. I was so on it, people, when it was performed there. She's also the co-founder of Wales' first BAME Open Mic series, Where I'm Coming From, and she was a 2018 Hay Festival writer at work. We at the Urban Kube have had the absolute pleasure of hearing and inviting Hanan Issa performing from her debut poetry pamphlet, My Body Can House Two Hearts. The mic is...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The piece that I'm going to read is called Lands of Mine, and it speaks about my two places of heritage. I use some Welsh phrases.
Ooh.
So just to help anchor your listeners, my hen lad van Hadai means the land of my fathers. And I reverse that and say my hen lad van Mamai, which means the land of my mothers. Okay, so this is Lands of Mine. Hen lad van Hadai occupies my thoughts. Blazing rage and bullets piercing dreams of Baghdad. The askari is gone. I roll up paper, twist out the middle and crumple it to resemble the damaged Malwiya, even the spots where a lovesick girl jumped to join the deaths of Mongol hordes and wise men lying forgotten in the dust. Baba, you promised you would eat at the rotating restaurant. But someone like my son, nothing like my son, finds comfort in thinking he was following orders. And as houses collapse, palm trees extend heavenwards, afraid to look at the painful detritus below that lights a blinding hirak inside me for my hen lad for Mamai, the home I have loved halfly. I think of my great-grandfather who breathed in coal dust as he breathed out kindness. Mishtaqeen, I miss you, gentle George. From the dark wooden drawers of my nan's Welsh dresser emerge stories of loyal dogs and fickle flower princesses. Can your makan? I am a woman of neither here nor there, although it is here I have bled and brought forth my child of more than 2 places. I gift him with the names of extraordinary princes and the stories of my people, of Fallujah, of Aberfan, of Baghdad, of Cardiff.
Beautifully read. I'm just mesmerised by the journey that you've taken us. Zakiah and Rabiah. Rabiah, you're also a poet. Your thoughts on Hanan's piece?
I'm not. I just started doing it, but yeah, no, it sounds very deep. I like that. She's kind of basically extracted 2 different backgrounds, merged it into one. So 1 minute it's in Wales, next minute it's in Iraq. So it's quite interesting. I like that one.
It's a beautiful, beautiful celebration of 2 remarkable cultures. Zakiah, your thoughts?
I think it was a really beautiful piece you wrote there. I'd be interesting to hear more from you.
And how do we make that possible, Hanan? How can people connect with you, and how can we get hold of this wonderful debut poetry pamphlet?
Oh, wow, I'm glad you asked. So you can follow me on social media. So my name is Hanan Issa, and on Instagram it's Hanan is Creative. And the pamphlet will be coming out in October, and it'll be available on Amazon, on Waterstones, but also my website, hananissa.com.
How fabulous. Hanan, thank you so very much for joining us this morning, and thank you for sharing your beautiful poetry. And I'm super looking forward to getting hold of the debut poetry pamphlet as well, which is called My Body Can House 2 Hearts. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Shemiza. Thank you all. Goodbye, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.
The wonderful Hanan Issa there, who just performed a beautiful piece. Now we're still joined by Zakiah and Rabiah is going to be performing her piece straight after the break, and we'll be answering those questions that the wonderful Asiya Mahmood has shared with us regarding a career direction. So join me straight after the break for more competition, conversations and poetry straight after this break. Assalamu alaikum.
On 105.1 FM, Inspire FM. Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Kube with Sister Shemiza.
That's right, folks. Good morning. You are catching a creative vibe where else on the Urban Kube with me, Shemiza, taking you all the way to 12 o'clock. I am now fully awake. I hope you guys are too. Had a few glitches on the show, but all is sorted. All is sorted. And I'm totally rolling with the vibe this morning with some absolutely awesome conversations with great guests. It is Inspire FM's Careers Week, and this is what we're talking about on the show today, about different career journeys that my awesome guests have had. And in the studio right now, I have the absolute pleasure of having not one, but two sisters joining me, sharing their remarkable journey. Firstly, I need to say an assalamu alaikum to both of them. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you so very much. I like the way that was so synchronized together. It is Zakiah and Rabiah Abdullah. Now, Zakiah is a games illustrator and artist. She's giving away a beautiful piece that she's actually created. Showing it to the camera right now. It's on my social media site. So it's a beautiful fairy tale image that she's created. Now, this is a giveaway which we're going to be rolling not just on this show, I think next week as well. And the question is, what industry does Zakiah work in? What industry does Zakiah work in? And we have Rabiah in the studio too. She's a pharmacist stroke poet. And we're going to be getting Rabiah performing a piece on the show right now. After this, we're going to be answering a few career-related questions, which a wonderful listener has contacted us regarding dentistry and pharmacy, the kind of pathway, which one should her daughter potentially take? Gosh, that's a question and a half. So I hope we're not here to answer, give the last... What's that thing? Like, I think we're inspiring direction, but the choice and obviously the pathway is yours at the end of the day. We're just here to kind of give a few little sort of inspirational directions. So, wow. Shall we answer that question first before we go to the poem?
I think to answer. So the question was, from what I understand, is whether her daughter should do dentistry or pharmacy.
Yeah.
Because she's been offered a place.
Yeah, she has. She's been given. So Zakiah, what's happened is Asia has contacted us and she's basically said her daughter's taken a deferred year out. Now she's interested in the profession of science and medicine. However, she is not sure on which one she should choose and why. So this is the question she's kind of wanting to ask yourself, because obviously you're in that industry.
Yeah. So basically, firstly I'd like to say, with regards to dentistry and even pharmacy, both careers are very vast. So people would assume that, for example, with regards to pharmacy, you only work in the community retail stores and dispensing medication, and for dentistry people think, okay, you're only just doing just the basic kind of dental checkups. But I think the first thing I would say to her is to explore the different pathways within each of the respective professions. Mm-hmm. Think about what you would like to go into, because in terms of the community pharmacy perspective, that side is, I guess, it used to be more security than before, but now I suppose in terms of the NHS and things like that, it's not as stable as it used to be, should we say. But in terms of moving into the pharmaceutical industry with a pharmacy degree, that's something that is very rewarding career-wise, and its benefits, the packages, ability to work from home.
See, I didn't know that there was flexibility from working from home. Oh, yeah, what, do you have like a little cupboard? Like with all the...
No, they do, so most companies will do 2 or 3 times work from home.
Right, okay.
As well, and then you also get to travel abroad to different countries. So I've had some crazy experiences there, and you got meetings and things like that. So it's a very exciting kind of career in that aspect. So, but in terms of pharmacy, there's also other areas you can go into. You can work with the governments as well, and Medicines Health Agency, Public Health England, various other things. So pharmacy has that breadth as well. From dentistry, obviously I'm not a dentist, but from what I understand, there's a lot of breadth in that aspect, specialising in certain areas of oral health, for example, prosthetics, different areas basically you can specialise in. So both fields have various kind of areas to go into. But I think in terms of making decision-wise, for her, I would focus on a couple of aspects in terms of really what is she interested in kind of doing, and making sure it's something she's interested in, because doing a career just, for example, because your parents said, or because you think you might be interested, but not really, it will affect you, because at the end of the day, you're spending most of your life at work. So you have to do something you enjoy.
And that's the crazy thing. We do spend most of our time at work.
Yes.
And the reality is, wow, it goes, you spend more time pushing buttons, working for a system, and if you're not happy, that really does help affect your mental health and well-being. So it really needs to be the correct decision. Exactly. And Muhammad made a really interesting point. He's kind of talked about diagrams and envisaging yourself in that space, and what is it that that makes you happy and content. Zakiah, you're somebody that kind of really went for your heart and followed your heart, your pathway. You're really and you're happy with that choice of working in the games industry, because you originally pharmacy was going to be your pathway.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the decision, actually. I think it was the right move. If I didn't follow my gut, then I would have regretted it. I definitely would have. So I'd say if anyone's in that position as well, definitely really listen. You got to listen to your gut sometimes and just let that take over.
Wow. Follow your gut instinct.
I'd say as well, in the same aspect, to enjoy something is one thing, but also to ensure that the job itself is stable,
right, and
the working conditions is something that you can handle. Because, for example, what I understand with community pharmacy now is nowadays the shifts are very long, and there's issues in terms of payment kind of thing is kind of stabilized, as opposed to before it was increasing. So that aspect has kind of reduced in terms of the community pharmacy side. Pharmaceutical industry is always going to thrive because medicines, so that side's fine. Dentistry-wise, from what I understand, I don't see any kind of issues in terms of any times of issues. People will always kind of need the dentists. So I think research in terms of the stability of the job, the security, whether you're interested in the job, and speak to people in the various professions that you're interested in, and try and understand what is a day like in real life, and what's the work-life balance, because you want to think about how do you want to live your life when you are working, and what kind of life do you want to live, because some people might not be happy to travel abroad, for example. Some people might not be happy to be in office all day. So it's really about your preference and what do you want, and based on what you want, what you're interested in, and where do you see yourself, and also where is the career heading towards. Based on those aspects, then you kind of make your decision. So it's all about basically researching these things, which you need to do before you jump in. So that was what I did. In my case, I researched these things before I kind of jumped into doing pharmacy.
It's fantastic advice there. I hope Asya listening in, that would be this is kind of going to support and help your daughter making those decisions, because it is quite a scary thought when you're not sure and you're heading into the working world, or going on to studying a degree that is like, one, it's quite expensive with all the fees, and you're spending a number of your years of your life, and if you're not going to be happy studying that and working in that industry, it's not good, is it?
I've seen people who have studied and they didn't enjoy it, and now they are doing other things. So, and I also seen people who have done pharmacy but then end up doing dentistry as well,
right?
Interesting. Or medicine as well. So
you can still, there is that option of change. You don't have to be stuck.
Basically, it's just everything you can do in your life, you can always change. Don't ever feel confined to one thing in life.
Zakiah, you're nodding ahead.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Definitely, you can always. There's always opportunities out there for people who are willing to work and do pay their dues.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Rabiah and Zakiah. And I do hope that that's kind of proved to be quite useful, not just for our wonderful listener who's just sent us that message, but anybody else tuning in. Now, if you do want to ask any questions regarding the pharmaceutical industry, or maybe the games industry, then please do get in contact with us on 07779 481822. The show will be repeated 8 p.m. this evening. We do have a podcast which will be going on all our social media sites, and we're also on the web as well. So coming back to my wonderful guest, who is Rabiah Abdullah. She's a pharmacist plus also a emerging poet, and she'll be performing at an event which is happening in London called S Poetry.
It's called S Poetry, and Basically, if you search it, it's on Instagram as well, or Google. If you do S Poetry, then that's basically
fantastic. And we're getting a little bit of a teaser of one of your poems, which you will be also performing at S Poetry. So what is the poem called that you're going to be performing?
Okay, so the poem I made is called Empathy, and it's based on like a girl kind of thing and her life and things like that. And it kind of brings those humane kind of feelings and emotions that we discussed in terms of hope and failing and then trying to succeed.
Which is very apt for the show.
Yeah. So there's a lot of about patience and again about, faith in God and things like that. So
mashallah,
there's loads of different things in there. And mainly it's telling the story of this kind of girl and what she's going through. Unfortunately, you won't get to hear the whole lot due to time, but you get to hear the rest, I suppose, if you come to the event or something like this. But I'll give you a short of it, basically. But it's kind of like a story of this girl, what's happening and the thoughts, and it kind of takes you on a journey with that, I suppose. So, should I start the poem?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, empathy. They ask what creates empathy, a mystery, but it lies in the untold story of pain and agony. A life, a world self-sufficient, reminiscent of the times dependent on none, except for the one, but alas, with a blink of an eye, a wail, a cry. Unwanted news, bemused. Whispers in the mind, how could this be? Why me? Shunned away, but no escape, for the fate was to come, and what was to succumb had become a reality. A gift overlooked and taken for granted, a lesson of importance, a calamity, or perhaps a bounty, it can be disputed, but the result the same, for what came swiftly and with that bravery, anticipation, hope. In the one omnipotent, prayers whispered to help cope, and with that admission, the procedure had begun, unconscious. It was only a moment and the procedure was done, laying comatose bearing the pain, unable to process what had happened, her mother by her bedside shattered, weary, crippled. Countless tears could not dispel her pain, life's lost tragedy a reality, her vibrant daughter a pale, lifeless body. Blindness prevailed over this actuality, a stark guarantee of the fragility of life, and with strife. Days passed, immobilized, incapacitated, the nights paralyzed, engulfed in pain, morphine running through her veins, could not dispel the anguish. The light of hope almost vanished. Self-sufficiency became dependence, again and again requesting assistance. Reflection on what had been and what came. Perhaps a recovery, perhaps none, she prayed. Alone, paralyzed, defeated, invoking the Creator. He alone a saviour from this despair and with fear. Sleep at last. 2 hours had passed and awoken again. Not the same, a strike of hope and calm. For now she could cope. A vast contrast separated by glass. Outside, tranquility, calmness, peace. As the birds delicately perched on the branches of vibrant trees, chanting their melodious tweets, and with her feet she battered herself to try again, to stand again, to walk again, for just a glimpse of that serenity, dragging her lifeless body sitting slowly, grasping unbearably onto pillows, standing up, a ferocious piercing pain. She screeched, and what a breach. Nurses in shock, victory in mind, she tried with the endpoint in sight. Standing, victorious, exhausted, fallen. Hope has no boundaries, with time it succeeds, only effort as its fuel and vision as its direction. A reality, it will be free. There's more to it, but would you like me to continue?
You can carry on, yeah. I'm intrigued by the end of the poem.
Okay. Hope has no boundaries, with time it succeeds, only effort as its fuel and vision as its direction. A reality, it will be free. Again and again the piercing pain, agonizing screeches echoing through the corridor, standing and falling. Muscles straining, tension building but only gaining, for what was a fall repeating and motivating. Success at the door, closer and closer. Sitting became standing, standing became walking, and without talking, persistence. Hope has no boundaries, with time it succeeds, and that she became. No longer the lifeless, paralyzed body engulfed in shame, able to walk again, slowly, strained. Out of the corridor to a new life, the past a memory, and what was to see, wounds apparent, triumphant, serenity found, tranquility. But what was the price? The fragility of life. So I ask you, what creates empathy? Perhaps the ability to understand and share the feelings of another.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much. What creates empathy? That is a question I'd love to ask our listeners this morning. What does create empathy? Have we lost the feeling or sense of empathy in the world that we live today? Because it's such a fast world, so fast paced. And unfortunately, sometimes our careers kind of like knock it out of us, it's feelings of emotion out of us because we're so robotic.
I guess that's with the careers. You can say that even people, they just get onto their day-to-day lives, and I suppose we're kind of focusing on our little bubble, and we are not kind of extending the reach, I guess, to others. But I suppose this poem, the purpose of it was initially we asked, what is empathy? And then instead of saying this is what empathy is, you get to feel empathy when you're listening to the poem. So then you feel the meaning as opposed to just, right, here's the meaning of empathy. Because now you've walked through this person's kind of journey. And the other point in the poem, I suppose, is I've made it kind of abstract in aspects of it so that actually you can reflect on as part of your life, and it becomes your kind of relatable and your kind of story and your kind of struggle, or whatever the struggle you had maybe.
And this is the beautiful thing about poetry. It reaches out to anybody and everybody, depending on if it's relatable. And, you know, and there's, I always find one line in a poem always stands out more than others. And that line kind of resonates so deep and it hits me so hard. And that's what I love about poetry. The fact is, I'm not expecting to be overwhelmed by the whole piece, but just one line, and I'm searching for that line. Zakiah, you know, your sister's a remarkable poet. Thank you so very much, Rabiah, for sharing that beautiful piece, which is going to be showcased at
S Poetry in London. So in my Instagram, you can follow my Instagram, and then I will have an advert with the poster on it.
Cool, fantastic.
Would you like the Instagram?
Yes, please share the handle.
It's called Poetry by Elegance. That's the name of the Instagram.
Fantastic. Now, Zakiah, you've been listening into your sister. Did you know she was a poet, or has this surprised you?
She's always been into writing, I'd say, from a very young age, because our family's quite creative as well as quite logical, and she's always been a very good writer, mashallah. And so her going into poetry on the side naturally seems quite natural for her, because my other sister is a very good poet as well.
Oh wow, gosh, a family of creatives. I'm absolutely loving this. Zakiah, Rabiah talked about empathy and kind of reaching out to listeners, listening into and relating to her poetry. What do you feel that your work reflects some form of empathy? Do you think that's a theme that you explore and or human emotions through your work?
I think it's a big part of my work, and a big part of art in general is to connect with the viewer. So I do it through visually, through the brushstrokes, through composition and colours. So Spring especially was a piece created when I was going for a walk after quite a tough time, and just feeling and experiencing the surrounding around me and being like, mashallah, this is so gorgeous and beautiful. Just capturing that moment and mixing it in with the fantasy genre to kind of express that feeling.
Now, you've just said mashallah, and you're appreciating the, you know, mashallah, the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the surroundings around you. Do you bring in your faith into your artistry, or do you keep it out?
I think I bring it in somewhat into my work, because my work's kind of, my personal work especially, is inspired by culture, and I'm working on a new piece actually based on my trip to Morocco.
Oh.
So I tend to get inspired by my surroundings around me, and I'd say it's a merging between Renaissance style, between modern day style, and between my cultural and heritage.
And where can we see your work? Because I'm so blown away by the piece, and so have been many listeners who've kind of contacted us who've seen this piece. Where else can we see it?
So you can see more pieces on my website at www.zakiahabdullah.com. but I'll post all my details on the Facebook page.
Have you exhibited your work anywhere?
When I was younger, when I was around 19, 20, I had an exhibition. It was my first exhibition. I haven't yet done many exhibitions because I've been focusing on my career working in the industry.
Right.
But I'm actually looking to get more into that for my personal work.
Mm-hmm. And would that be in Luton or out of Luton?
Both. I don't mind both. Really.
So if there's anybody who's seen your work, would you like them to get in touch and hopefully potentially get your work exhibited? Because I think they deserve to be exhibited. I really love this style. I just find it very unique because it's fairy tale and it kind of takes you away into an imaginary world. And sometimes you just need to switch off and go into a fantasy world. And it kind of makes me feel like young.
Yeah,
and childlike.
Definitely.
I like that.
Yeah, childlike, I'd say. Definitely. One point to mention is that I've created a few other pieces that are based on seasons. So I've done spring, I've done summer I'm working on, I've done winter, and I'm working on autumn. So it's one for each season, and there's girls based on those.
And I like the fact that they're quite modestly dressed, your fairies are. So it's there's an elegance.
Exactly, yeah.
We were thinking of doing a little collaboration.
I was going to ask you that question. Is there going to be a collaboration of poetry and artistry?
Yeah, we were thinking about it basically, but we're just trying to think of what theme to do first. And then we just do a little collaboration and put a poem.
Well, you need to come back to the show because it's an exclusive, people. The Abdullah sisters collaboration has been announced, so we're eagerly going to await that. And do you both inspire each other? To kind of, you talked about, Hanan talked about, and I think it was yourself, about women coming together, supporting one another, being a good network, having empathy, not competing, but collaborating. And as sisters, is that what you guys do?
Definitely. Like for this poem, she was the first one I asked, what do you think of this poem? Do you think it's good enough? Like, what do you think I should do? So she gave the feedback. And then when she does her painting, she'll say, right, well, what do you think of the painting? What do you think I should do? And we just give each other, we just bounce ideas off each other because our mind is like that. We can just like bounce. But we've been like that since we were children, to be honest with you. We used to do various things, drawing,
we used to do drawing, like, and we used to create board games, and we give each other honest feedback. So we give each other constructive criticism, which is really important when you're being creative.
Our other sister as well, she does, we were with her as well, we do the same thing, like she has her poetry things and we'll bounce ideas off her as well. So I also bounced this poem off her as well before. I was like, okay, they're happy with it.
I absolutely love this. I really am so enamored by the fact that so much energy and creativity is coming from one household, and it's kind of reaching out now wider to a greater platform, and this is a beautiful thing, and I really want to see more of it. Do you feel that you're getting enough creative inspiration from Luton, the town itself? Are you out there seeing what's going on? Do you know what's happening around you?
I don't think it's a good question, but I would say like we have to kind of go out there and see, because I think when I'm writing the poems, like I'll be at a certain place and then I'll think, oh, okay, I think so I went to Wooddown Park the other day and I thought, oh, I'm thinking to write a poem because just about that experience that I had just in the park, seeing various different people doing different things, families, friends, things like that. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to write a poem. So when I have the idea, I just like note it down, okay, I'm going to write a poem about this topic, and then I'll pick it up someday and I'll just write the poem. So
you don't do it there and then? You give yourself a bit of a gap?
My mind works like that. My mind, like in the background, it will be processing it. So then when I come back to it, I'll do it. I can just do it straight away.
And is that what you do, Zakiah, with your illustrations?
Yeah, exactly. I just keep it. I normally take quite a while to create my pieces, so I just generally create a sketch or some form of thumbnail just to capture that moment.
Wow. Now, folks, we're heading off to the end of the show. The repeat will be 8 p.m. But just before we go, ladies, one tip you could give to our listeners before we end the show.
Follow your gut instinct.
Follow your gut instinct and
I would say, like, don't let go of your dreams and never think that you failed in life. There's always room to improve, and there's always different avenues you can go to, and try new things, and just basically try new things, live your life, and don't refine yourself to certain aspects of life.
Love it. Some great advice there from both of our guests. Thank you, Rabiah. Thank you for Zakiah for joining us. And we're going to be rolling the competition over to next week as well, inshallah. So from me, assalamu alaikum. Have a wonderful day and follow your dreams, people. And always have faith. So assalamu alaikum from us. Take care.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.